1973, Bruce Lee launched a flying kick at the American movie world with Enter the Dragon. Fed up with secondary roles in American television and ready to attack the movies stateside, Lee starred in and co-wrote what became the fourth biggest movie of the year, and by far the biggest martial arts movie that had yet been made. It practically created the genre, while dabbling in everything from the spy movie to blaxploitation. Sadly, it was a posthumous success for Bruce Lee, but we're lucky to have it. So sit back, pour yourself a glass of whatever distilled Asian beverage you can get your hands on, and picture yourself at a wild party in Han's palace. You have our gratitude. It's time for episode 8 of Toasting the Classics, Enter the Dragon.
So, I want to know, do you have anything you're so good at? Do you have any skill in your life that you're so adept at that you've reached a spiritual level? Have you ever moved beyond the physical with one of your skills and hit the spiritual level?
Yes.
And what skill? Is it something you can talk about on a family-friendly podcast? Or
No.
Okay.
No, it involves roller skates and chocolate pudding. It's a whole thing. I'll tell you after.
All right. Yeah.
After this is.
We'll probably finish the bottom of this drink in a while.
Welcome to Toasting the Classics with
Dave McArthur, Clint, Lanier. I got it in. I'm
Hey,
first.
you did.
There we go.
So today's classic we are talking about and perchance toasting is
The 1974 classic Enter the Dragon.
Enter the Dragon. This is David's pick. I would never pick anything as
what?
As
As
low,
awesome?
low
As amazing?
as this.
So I have to admit that I love this film, right? I always love this movie.
So he's biased
But
right
it's
off the start.
but it can be appreciated on two levels. One is spectacular martial arts film. The other is ridiculous, like, just ridiculous. Like the whole blaxploitation thing with Jim Kelly and like the way that Bruce Lee talks and everything about this movie can be seen on two levels of hilarity and also genuinely an awesome martial arts movie. And I've just always enjoyed the film. I've watched it many, many times over the years. And I'm spoiling it for everybody. I really like this movie. So just want to put that out there. So I had a lot of fun watching it again. It's been a long time.
I don't know, viewers, should we really be that biased about something that we're going into?
It's possible. Maybe I should recuse myself
Perhaps.
from the toast. Although, like we said, whoever's having it foisted upon them is the deciding vote.
Yeah,
so it's up to Clint at the end of the day.
point.
It's up to Clint at the end of the day whether we toast this classic.
That's a good point.
What'd you think? Did you have fun?
Yeah, no, I mean, of course. Yeah, it's a fun movie.
Have you watched it a bunch of times before?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
I had some things that I learned about it as, doing the research and so forth. The whole thing was redubbed. Like everything was redubbed. Every sound effect was completely redubbed, and all the voiceovers were redubbed.
Okay.
After the fact.
Yeah.
So
what could they have possibly sounded like before? They're so bad.
When Bruce Lee is talking like this.
Yes.
It
is like a finger pointing away to the moon.
Oh, but
don't
concentrate on the finger
or you'll miss all that heavenly glory.
Right. So all of that.
How can you not appreciate that on two levels? That's what I'm trying to say. That is hilarious. It is such bad pronunciation.
Not only do they have to
but it's
say
also
it,
spectacular.
Not only did they say it on film the first time, but then they cut it on tape the second time to put on.
So it must have sounded worse the first time. That's what's hard to imagine. Yeah. Yeah, I wrote down a whole list of great lines. Just one. I don't want to ruin them all at once, but there's just a bunch of great lines.
There are a lot of really great lines.
Eminently quotable.
A lot of stuff I didn't know about the movie. Let's see. The actor who played, was it Saxon?
Yeah, John Saxon.
John Saxon.
He's the best actor in the film, by the way.
He's a real actor.
He's really good. He's not really good. I'm taking that too far.
He's the only actor in the film.
But there's a couple of lines he delivers. He has a couple of quips, and I'm like, okay, there's a guy who actually can act.
Well, he is an actual actor.
Exactly.
Unlike all the rest of them.
Yeah.
But he's an actor that
he just died. He just died last year. Maybe I don't think it was COVID related, but
no, it's probably old age related.
I think it was Alzheimer's, is what they said. But.
Well, I mean, I think he was born in the 30s, so
he was 90 or something.
Yeah, but he was genuinely like a 5th degree black belt. So he was a black belt in both judo and karate.
Right.
When they made this movie, so he'd been practicing. So they made this movie 74.
I think, yeah.
And I think they said that he'd been like a student of martial arts since like 56 or something like that. So he was legitimately into it.
Yeah.
These are those actors that that would do those things back in the day, you know? And
Sure. It's kind of a little B movie, you know, to some extent. Like a martial arts film was not considered a major genre. It wasn't like that wasn't a big.
This is the only
movie
one he ever did, by the way. He
Saxon?
Yeah, he refused to. He
did
never,
other movies, but there were.
the only
did a whole
martial
bunch
arts
of,
movie, that he ever did, but because he
I
didn't want
flipped
to
through
be
his
typecast,
IMDb. There might have been a few names I've heard of the movies, but he was a working actor for like 40 years. Like, doing all kinds of
Nightmare on
genre.
Elm Street. Come on.
Yes, that was the one where I was like, okay, who was he in Nightmare on Elm Street?
Cop.
He was the cop.
Yeah,
okay.
he was one of the cops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he and that's actually what he was really good at. He was good at playing cops and like.
Oh, he has a face like a.
Yeah,
like
he's
you could
he's a heavy.
Open a can with it.
Yeah, he's
like,
a heavy. So he played the heavy and probably Gunsmoke and all kinds of other shows like that.
Westerns. Yeah,
westerns.
And
stuff like that. But he was cool to really learn about. You know who he reminded me of? Have you seen, and we've talked about it before, actually. Yeah, I know we've talked about it before.
Okay.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, well, clearly there's a connection to this
With
film.
Leonardo DiCaprio's character. But he became a B movie type of thing.
Sure.
Okay, so Saxon went to Italy for the 60s and 70s and even into the 80s. Man, he was making movies in Italy all the time.
Why not?
And action movies and stuff like that.
I would do it. I'm actually available for any Italian directors that are casting. I'm perfectly happy to go make movies in Italy. So
And he speaks perfect Italian.
just want to put that out there.
Yeah.
Trying to think of something to say in Italian. It's
I know.
completely slipping my mind.
Yeah, I know. That was fun.
Arrivederci. Remember Brad Pitt in Inglourious Basterds? He's like, Arrivederci.
Arrivederci. Yeah, he said that ironically, though.
No. He's like supposed to not speak a single word of Italian. And they're all talking in that scene where
but he says
Christopher Waltz comes in and he's like Arrivederci.
The Jim Kelly.
Yeah,
right?
Jim Kelly.
Yeah. Blaxploit.
Who's your favorite character? Who do you like? Who would you pick if you were playing Street Fighter today and you had to use a character from this movie?
Well, Saxon, obviously.
Saxon would be your guy. Okay.
Kelly dies.
No, I mean just for round one fight. Like you gotta have your guy. Like choose your fighter.
Probably Saxon.
Saxon. Okay.
Yeah, because he doesn't fight fair. He fights to win.
Scene. So there's the scene where they're having like a betting match, and it's like Jim Kelly fights.
Yeah.
And the guy watches them fight, and Saxon's loses some money to him.
No, he wins.
He wins some money.
Yeah.
And then Saxon fights. And somehow Jim Kelly's betting with the guy, but John Saxon keeps looking at him, and I'm like, no one else is picking up on this.
Yeah,
like, this professional bettor.
They're fixing it. Who looked a lot like an Asian
Charlie Chaplin or something.
Charlie
right?
Chaplin
There was a little bit of
Hitler,
yes,
maybe?
a little bit of Hitler. A little bit of Hitler, yeah. How was that guy supposed to be tricked into that bet? That scene, I have seen this movie probably 20 times. That scene never makes sense to me.
Okay, so if you watch it again.
Okay.
Notice the difference between Saxon like nodding his head like, can we bet now?
Right.
And then Kelly doing it. Like Kelly like barely moves his head. He's just like
he kind of almost looks like somebody could get away with it. But
Yeah.
Saxon, he's what, 30 or 40 feet away in the middle of a fight.
That's the point though. He's like way out there. So I guess you have to look for it.
I guess I don't know. You would think the guy would be a little more aware of what's going on around him.
So in the original script though, it was Saxon that was supposed to die, not Kelly.
Oh.
And
then they realized they broke the rule the black guy always dies, or what? Like,
no, Saxon.
I hate that about this
Saxon
movie.
was
I have always hated
Saxon
that about
was
this
the
movie.
only. He was actually a star, at that time.
Right.
And he was the only one that was an actor.
Right.
And so they needed him kind of in the movie to say we have an actor in the movie. And so he's like, he looked at the script. He's like, I'm not gonna die. And they're like, okay, we'll rewrite it. And so they made Kelly die.
So they made Jim Kelly die. Yeah, I don't know. That was a weird scene when he goes up there and there's like this psychedelic thing going on. Like they go into this room, this like drug opium den.
Yeah. All the girls laughing and stuff.
That was weird. Yeah. I didn't choose it, but it was candidate for biggest surprise. I did not remember how weird that scene was.
Yeah, that's a weird scene.
I remembered when he goes into Han's office and he's like, man, you come right out of a comic book. I love that line. That is a great line. Like, I remembered all that, and I remembered he ends up bad, but I didn't remember. That sequence was weird. Very. Also, you know what? I actually watched a version of this, had it on tape, and watched it many, many times. That was the TV version. Okay. So it was missing some, like, there's some nudity in this version.
Hardly. There's really not that much.
But when I was watching it this time, I was like, wait, what? That's a boob. I was like, what's going on here? I don't remember.
True. As a 12-year-old boy.
As a 12-year-old boy, that would have been ingrained in my conscience.
That's true. Actually, this probably would have been like a TNA movie.
Yeah.
not a martial arts movie.
Yeah, basically anything that would have.
Connie Katane died today, by the way.
Tawny Katane is somebody I just looked up a few days ago because I didn't know who she was.
What?
And somebody mentioned her on a podcast I listened to, actually.
Actually, not who-
I had to Google her. Well, I knew her when I saw her.
You are of age to know.
But she looked like she had a bunch of stuff done to her when she got older.
Yeah.
Plastic surgery, like she went
Yeah.
kind of crazy with it. It looked like. I'm sorry to hear that she passed away. I don't know what happened, but
Well, they haven't really released
she's
it, but
not that old.
no, I remember.
Maybe 10 years older than we are. Like
yeah, she was in her
50s.
late 50s. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Man, she was it.
That was the impression I got. This guy on the podcast I listened to is like about 50, and he was like, he mentioned her name, and you could hear the two of them kind of pause.
Yeah.
She's maybe before my time.
No, seriously, go look up some Whitesnake videos with her in it. She's the one dancing on the hood of the car.
Okay.
And like crazy.
I recognized her when I looked her up.
Yeah.
I recognized her. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That's a little bit of Bader Meinhof there, where you learn about something, and then 2 days later they die. You're
right.
like, okay, is that my fault? Did I do that? No.
I hope not.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
Never learn about my family.
Yeah. No, I don't know your family. I don't know anything
good.
about them. Yeah,
That's why we don't. That's why we never go to your house. By the way.
Yeah, I think my guy. I think the one I would pick is that jerk from New Zealand.
You would pick him.
Remember that guy?
That guy's the
guy
worst.
on the boat. What a dick. I
Yeah,
mean, sorry,
I know,
pardon
no.
my French, but
Yeah.
oh, he's just like goes over and he's kicking the basket. I'm like, how are you learning
Yeah.
martial arts and you're that much of a jerk? Like,
Well,
you must have had some.
That's the point, though. I mean, that's the point.
you're
He's
dedicating your life.
he's a big
to
jerk.
a certain philosophy, and you don't learn any of it. Like I don't
No.
know. I don't know. It was weird. It was a weird sequence.
It's kind of strange though, because then you have the heavy that worked for Han, not O'Hara, but
Ohara.
not
No,
O'Hara.
not Ohara. Oh, you're talking about Bolo.
Bolo, yeah.
Bolo is.
So-
by the way, Bolo, in his own right, martial arts actor.
Yes,
He's in a bunch of cool movies.
he's
That
in
guy's-
every
that
movie.
guy's
He's in
good.
Bloodsport.
He's good in this.
I think
He's good in this
He
one.
upped his steroids and got into Bloodsport in
he
the
was a beast in
1980s
this,
against
though. He's a beast in
against
this movie. So I was
Van Damme.
So I did martial arts for years and years, and I
Did
used
you?
to have this argument with people all the time because the idea that the little guy can beat the big guy is so popular in films and things
Sure.
like that,
Yeah.
a trope that you start to think it's reality.
Yeah.
You start to think that probably the little guy has an advantage,
Right.
right? And I remember arguing like, our teacher was a terrific martial artist, but he was about 5'7", and he weighed 120 pounds soaking wet. And there was this guy in our class who was at a high level who was about 6'5", 300 pounds, and I was like, I'm pretty sure Jared would beat up our teacher.
Jake Logan versus Floyd Mayweather.
And people were mad at me for saying that, And I'm like, I'm sorry, but that's just reality,
Right.
Like, who would you rather fight, Bruce Lee or Bolo?
Yeah, well,
Bolo's
that's true.
scary. That's a scary dude. I wouldn't want anything to do. And I know they play it up that he's scary because he kills people that he fights with. But
Saxon kicked him.
he kicked him in the crotch, and he what, died?
He killed him.
What is
'cause
going on there?
No, he killed him because he kicked him so hard.
So if I get kicked in the crotch really hard,
Dude,
I'm just gonna die.
Coconuts break, they break. You know what I mean? I guess.
Can you
I don't
explain
know.
to me the etiology of how a person dies
I
from
don't
being
quite.
kicked in
I
the
don't.
crotch?
Actually, you're married to a doctor.
That's what I
like
mean,
a medical
yeah,
doctor. So you might ask her.
I'm gonna make a little note and go
Yeah.
home and ask, and I hope she doesn't teach me.
Well, that's a really good point because I had to like look at that again.
Yeah.
Like I watched it,
Yeah.
rewound it, and I'm like, okay, what did he do again?
Yeah.
Kicked him really hard,
Right.
and then the guy died.
Yeah. The other one that doesn't make sense to me, very similar,
Uh huh.
when he fights Ohara,
Okay.
which I think is like a Chinese version of O'Hara. I think he's supposed to be an Irish guy named O'Hare or O'Hara. Right?
Yeah. Well, obviously he's a white dude.
They should call him O'Hara.
Yeah,
but
the white dude, big.
when I was a kid, I
Stupid
didn't
beard.
connect those two things. I was just
Okay.
like, why is this guy named O'Hara?
O'Hara.
That doesn't sound like
Yeah, yeah.
sound like
That's
this
weird.
white dude with
Yeah.
a fro. Like
Sure.
it looks kind of like Jack Tripper a little bit.
Yeah.
But anyway, but he beats him. And at the end of the fight, jumps up in the air and like lands on him with 2 feet, and he,
Well, yeah.
how does that kill somebody?
Well, I think he like landed on his throat.
On his what?
On his
What do you-
throat or something.
I guess.
He did that.
It doesn't look like a particularly powerful strike.
But he did that in a few movies.
He does that twice in this movie. He does a jump on somebody, and I'm like, that's not strike. That doesn't look like a. That looks about as strong as Captain Kirk's two-handed overhand chop.
I know.
Hit somebody. I'm like, what do they just
The
die?
part that always
because-
bothers me when he would do that, when Bruce Lee would do that, is like it looks like he's in pain or something. Like he would
Well,
do
it's
this-
the guy who didn't kill his sister, but led to his sister's death.
Right.
So he's getting a lot of emotional content.
Right.
We need emotional content.
Emotional.
We get a lot of
content,
emotional content out of him killing this guy.
All right.
So I mean
So-
that sort of makes sense.
So
a little bit.
before
right?
we move on any further, have you ever seen Kentucky Fried Movie?
I have a note here that we should talk about Kentucky Fried Movie.
Have you seen it?
Yes, Kentucky Fried
Okay.
Movie. Loved Enter the
Once
Dragon.
more with Feewing.
You have our gratitude.
Once more with Feewing. He's like, like throwing. Once more with Feewing. Okay.
I don't remember
So-
anything about Kentucky Fried Movie except the Enter the Dragon parody. There's the bit.
Yeah.
There's the bit where in
Isn't
the,
it like
in-
Amazon Women on the Moon or something
I
like
don't
that?
remember.
think
There's a
was
whole bunch of
one.
offensive.
There's,
it's terrible.
there's-
It's not even remembering the movie. I'm canceling it. We're gonna get in trouble for that movie. Is
Why?
inappropriate.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. No, it's a movie. It's funny. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be stupid.
So there's a bit where they
It makes fun of people.
in the
which
actual
is what
movie,
you could do in a real world.
Han takes him down to that cage he has in the basement, filled with men. For some reason, he's like, we found these people in bars. They're men that no longer care
Right.
about what. And in Kentucky Fried Movie, they've got multiple cages, and he's like, this cage is drunken men, and this cage is men who no longer care. Wait, I no longer care, but I'm not drunk. Well, get in the other cage.
Yeah, get in the other cage.
I was like, oh, only someone who loved Enter the Dragon as much as me would know what the heck they're talking about.
Okay, all right. So
It's
we're gonna,
really
if
obscure,
we're gonna go
deep
there.
cut.
The name of just the names
Okay.
in Kentucky Fried Movie.
I don't remember them.
I don't remember the
Edify me.
names. Okay.
Edify me.
Here's some edification for you. So they're announcing the names of the fighters, and it'd be like Hung Solo.
Oh, come on. You see what I mean?
but the worst part is by the time they purposely get more and more ridiculous.
Right.
Like the first one would be
Is
like
that the movie with Don Carlos from Bakersfield? No, that's something else.
might have been, I don't know.
Do you remember the one I'm talking? This is Don Diego from San Francisco, and this is Don Francisco from San Diego, and this is
think it
Don
is.
Carlos from Bakersfield.
Yeah, I think it is.
No, what is?
I don't know.
remember. It's, yeah.
All
Maybe
I
Three
remember is
Amigos.
Amazon.
Might be Three Amigos.
Amazon Women on the Moon and then
Zorro the Gay Blade. You ever see that?
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's Zorro the Gay Blade.
I mean,
actually.
what? No.
Yeah.
I've never seen
my God.
it by
That
myself.
movie
at
cannot
night.
exist. Cannot exist in 2021.
Where
the Gay-
Zorro has a gay brother
Oh,
that comes back to.
It was a really funny movie, but anyway, I think we might be digressing. We might be digressing
No,
into
I don't think so.
sticky 70s comedy. Like, I don't know if that's.
But you didn't let me get to my point.
Oh, did you have one?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. All right. shoot.
Okay. Actually, I can't remember what it was.
You were talking about the names of.
Yes, and they were all offensive. No. Well, the point about the names was they started out with like really kind of like fairly benign names, and then by
Right.
the time they get to the end of the name, it's like my penis is really big. Or
Oh,
something
okay.
stupid like
Okay,
that.
that's-
It's like
That's
it was
funny
it was
because that's kind
terrible.
of like we were saying about the Mel Brooks jokes. It's making fun of the people
Exactly,
who make fun
yeah,
of the Asian
that's
names.
exactly
Okay,
what it
good.
was doing.
All right, you came around. Full
Well, actually,
circle.
I think Kentucky Fried Movie it satired caricatures.
I like to say satirized as a verb, not satire.
If you go out this door, you'll see a few diplomas on the wall. here.
Oh,
Yeah, satiring. Oh, how about that?
all right. I'm getting kind of tired of you saying that.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're making fun of the people making fun of it, as you said.
Yes. You came around full circle, and I'm with you again on that. Yeah, good. I'm glad it went that
Which
way.
which I really dig. They don't just make fun of it for making
Right.
fun of its sake. They're
Right.
making fun of the tropes.
There's this one. So we were talking about where he kills Ohara.
Uh-huh.
There's this one guy he talks to. No, sorry. He talks to this other guy that looks crazy, but when that fight's going on, there's this one guy who looks like he's got like one eye. That's like, something terrible happened to it. And it's not part of the story
I
or
hope I
anything.
get that, yeah.
I was just like, why do you have a shot of that guy? Why don't you ask that guy to stand at we need extras, but can you get to the back because there's something horribly wrong with your eye.
We need extras that don't stand out.
Yeah, like
right.
It's distracting.
Yeah,
You're
I
like,
know.
this is
Yeah.
this is the dramatic scene where Bruce Lee
Right.
finally gives the comeuppance to the guy
let's-
that murdered
yeah.
his sister.
But
What are you doing with your freaking eye?
Let's give a shot of a guy
Yeah.
with his really weird freaking face.
One eye's like barely open.
We're like, wait, what?
If that guy had had an eye patch and a parrot on one shoulder, it would have been less distracting than the way his actual face looks.
That's a great point.
It was really out of place. Yeah.
It was a really cool piece of trivia for that scene. So apparently they didn't have candy glass or sugar glass.
Oh, because he's got the bottles that he
Yeah,
breaks.
the bottles. Those were real bottles.
Ohada's treachery has
And
disgraced us.
apparently he stuck one through Bruce's hand.
Dang.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he didn't mean to. Obviously, it was.
So it was real glass.
Yeah, it was real glass.
So is there a story reason why there were 2 bottles there? Because I had that thought. I was watching it this time.
Why are there 2 bottles there?
I had forgotten where he breaks the bottles and comes after him. So when Ohada gets knocked down, I was literally looking and I was like, who left those bottles there? And he gets up and grabs them as weapons. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, at least
there's no story reason.
At least
why
they're
they'd do
different
this.
colors, though. I mean, because
There's like a green bottle and a brown bottle.
Yeah. At least they're bottles of like Heineken and who else do we want to not
To
have?
plug?
No, to have on this.
Oh,
show.
I don't know. I just thought it was kind of like, you remember Double Dragon, the video game?
Yes.
You pick
Well, they
up
throw
things,
it. Yeah,
pick them
throw
up and throw them. I thought it was like that. It's just like there's objects laying around. Like, why is there a baseball bat in the middle of the street? I don't know, but a Bobo is going to pick it up and hit you over the head with it. So,
but I thought it was kind of cool. He picked up 2 bottles and smashed them together. And,
right.
But I thought it was kind of neat that.
It wasn't cool. That was treacherous.
Oh, it was treacherous,
It was
wasn't
very treacherous.
Yeah,
He
well,
disgraced us.
But that was the kind of guy he was.
He was a bad guy.
So I looked at him up, his story up. He's got a really cool story. He, again, the guy is like a martial arts first. Been in a ton of movies. He, think he trained under Chuck Norris. So Chuck Norris originally had a dojo in California, in the LA area. And so he trained, and so he was like one of Norris's main students before Norris became big, right?
Okay.
And so Norris kind of, became big. Then he did as originally a stunt guy, doing martial arts and stuff like that. And so that's kind of, he's been in a ton of movies. That guy,
Really?
yeah,
Huh.
one of that whole crew of the 70s and 80s, martial arts actors.
Yeah. We used to have this almost like a clip movie that my buddy and I would watch. It was like the deadliest art, and it was just like clips of different martial arts movies over the years. And there was like Cynthia Rothrock and all these people from the 70s and 80s that were martial artists. And
Cynthia Rothrock.
She's
I remember. Yeah.
like
She was so funny. She was like, when there,
she had a studio near my house in Pittsburgh, actually.
Really?
Cynthia Rothrock Martial Arts. And I was just
wasn't there, okay, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't there was a fitness guru named Powers or something like that. She was like blonde, bleached hair, and she like had like a crew top.
I almost for a second pictured who you're talking about.
Yeah, something Powers.
Okay.
Isn't Cynthia Rothrock kind of the same vibe? Like she had like
She had short hair.
like she had like leotards or something like that. I mean, she was like.
Yeah, she sort of. I'm trying to. She's got a gi in the picture that I'm thinking of.
Does she?
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm not really.
I'll just go look her up.
Yeah, we watched one of her because we had that clip movie, so we tried to track down all the movies that were in it. There's a bunch of good stuff. It's like things that Bolo was in, like on his own, and like Jackie Chan and that other guy, Sammo Hung. Like all these guys. Like we just love these guys. My friend and I would watch them.
What was the name?
Sammo Hung.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
What? I didn't say anything.
Sammo large penis, I guess is what you're trying to go.
Wow.
So
I wasn't even thinking of that.
It was
Sitting here
so we
reading my Bible.
would put this tape on.
Uh-huh.
They used to have these things called tapes,
Yeah.
video tapes on a VHS recorder, and we would watch this movie, and we could not get through 20 minutes of the movie before we would just be beating the absolute crap out of each other
Right.
in the house,
'cause you're doing all that
jumping over
stuff, yeah.
couches and flipping, and hit, just having a blast.
I
When
loved it.
we were little guys, it was a lot of fun, and it ended with this like half-hour-long tribute to Enter the Dragon, narrated by John Saxon. And
Really?
like him, he
Oh,
was
that's
like,
cool.
I had the chance to be in the greatest martial arts movie of history.
Yeah.
Enter the
Yeah.
it was pretty cool. You have to be careful with martial arts stuff. You start trying to kill each other.
Yeah. Well,
I think
obviously,
it's
yeah.
natural. So
It's a martial art.
yeah,
Not like
yeah.
a
It's not like painting.
painting
It's not
art.
that kind of art.
Yeah.
It's martial art.
Yeah, it's not like a Bob Ross art.
So do you want to bust out the drink?
It's up to you, man. I mean,
I think we should bust out the drink. And I have.
he brought 2 shot glasses, and
I have to apologize.
fantastic.
I have to apologize because
ladies
we
and
live-
gentlemen, he brought malt liquor
Malt
to
liquor. Yeah, in honor of Jim Kelly in the blaxploitation film.
I didn't say that,
No,
by the way.
No. That's not what this is about.
Okay,
So
what is it?
I have sinned, and I have to tell everybody, because we live here in the Outer Rim territories at the edge of the galaxy where we don't have access to the transport lanes of the core like the rest of you. So we cannot get Baiju, which is what I wanted to get.
Oh, yeah.
I could have gone down to El Paso if I'd had more time.
Wow. That's a deep pull right there.
But that's what I wanted to have, because there's a
Baiju's
scene in Han's Palace where it's just like a total Chinese bacchanal, right? Like they got these bowls of liquor. I'm guessing some kind of plum liquor. I think it's Baiju. So that's what I wanted to get.
Yeah.
Can't get that here.
Yeah.
We have a really nice liquor store, Kelly's Liquor Store. Give them a plug.
Yeah.
All they have is soju. So like I said, I know my Asian people out there are going to be angry at me about this, but I brought Korean liquor to deal with Enter the Dragon. So I've got Jinro Plum Soju.
Yeah.
That we're
no,
gonna
that's
have.
fine. Absolutely.
And we're going to drink it neat. This is the most popular liquor on the planet.
Because there are how many people that drink
Because
it?
there are a lot of people in Asia.
Yeah.
That's right. I always say that. It's like there are cities in China you and I can't name that have more people than Chicago.
Right.
That's just the scale you're dealing with when you're talking about Asia. Everything is bigger. There's so many more people.
Right.
So this liquor, which obviously I've had soju many times, but this is supposedly, according to their website, this is the most popular liquor on the
So
planet.
what is soju?
So soju is a distilled liquor from various. It actually can be made from different things, and Baiju as well can be made from different starches.
Is it a lot like vodka, but it's their version?
Yeah, it's a neutral. I think it's a neutral grain spirit, right? I think
so,
basically, because it doesn't matter what it's made from; it can be a neutral
I
grain
mean,
spirit.
they just call it moonshine or whiskey.
But they were
something
talking
like that,
about how this particular company has ethanol delivered to them. So I'm thinking that they must be adding something to it, so it's not a neutral. Right? I mean, is my logic correct there? I'm thinking that if you have ethanol delivered, I mean, it's already been distilled into an alcoholic drink. Do you want the Indy 500 glass?
Yeah, Indy 500 glass.
Or the Orioles? I'll drink from the Orioles. The Orioles just had a no-hitter this week, which is pretty exciting. First time since 1969.
Didn't he walk somebody, though?
He threw a wild pitch.
Oh, that's what it was.
On strike 3.
Yeah.
And the guy ran to first base and then got thrown out afterwards. So it wasn't a perfect game.
Right.
It's the weirdest way to lose a perfect game I've ever seen. And I saw Max Scherzer lose a perfect game with 2 outs in the 9th. The guy leaned into a pitch and got hit by a pitch.
Oof.
And then he got the next guy out, no hitter. But I was like, couldn't you have?
Really?
I mean, but in the guy's defense, it was a 1-0 game. So
I will say, just nosing this thing.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah, it smells good. Smells like.
Oh yeah,
it kind of smells like plum brandy.
It smells kind of tasty, right?
Right.
So the hate to do this because it's Korean, but I mean it's a Korean liquor. So what I always used to say is gombe,
which is
like what you say when you drink, right? It's like a cheers. So what it literally means, and I'm not advising this to you,
okay,
but what it literally means is like empty your glass.
Ah.
Okay. And it's pretty much the same, weirdly enough. Chinese is like gombe. I don't speak Mandarin very well. Or I can't emulate the tones, so don't quote me on that. But in Japan, they say kanpai. It's all related to the same etymology. I'm guessing coming from China originally. But anyway, don't actually drain your glass. Let's sip on them because we have a little bit more podcasting to do. and from how half-mast your eyes look already, I think we need to slow down our dish a little bit here.
Probably good.
There we go. So take a little sip of the plum soju. That's not bad.
No,
that doesn't taste like soju to me.
No.
That doesn't taste like soju at all. That
doesn't taste
because usually there's a little more alcohol taste to it.
Yeah, that tastes like.
And this is the absolute low range of soju at 13%. It can be as high as 50.
That's wine.
Yeah, that's like a wine. So
wine.
we don't need to be drinking that out of a shot glass. I don't think. I think we can go ahead and pour up our regular glasses. So why don't we go ahead and shoot that?
Yeah. All right.
I mean, just to make it a little more realistic. Gombe. Oh yeah, that tastes like nothing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, so there's a range
Yeah.
with the proof on this particular type of liquor, and Baiju usually stronger.
Well, Baiju, from what I've read about Baiju, it's Chinese moonshine. It's essentially vodka, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
basically,
it really
because
is.
vodka can be made from different starches as well, right?
Right.
It can be potatoes, it can be grain, it can be.
You know what's funny is
Baiju traditionally is sorghum. That's sort of like it's not like a rule.
Sorghum?
But normally sorghum is what Baiju is made from.
Sorghum is a funky, weird tasting thing too.
I don't even know. What do we use sorghum? Have I ever had anything made of sorghum? I can't.
Yeah.
I had bread.
You can buy. They make gluten-free beer with sorghum. So they make sorghum beer.
Okay.
And it's like gluten-free beer, and it's freaking terrible.
Yeah, that sounds gross.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, so you could get it. I mean, you can find it out there.
Yeah,
but
I'd like to. I wish I could have gotten down to El
appealing.
Paso and gotten this baijiu because I kind of wanted to taste it. I've never had it. By the way, it's not an accident. Soju baijiu. It means liquor in Chinese. So
okay.
it becomes the word in Korean as well.
Yeah.
And this one is chamisul, which kind of I can't remember it's something about dewdrops because when you distill it collects on the sides, it looks like drops of dew.
Okay.
Is the etymology there for why it's called dewdrops. I thought that was kind of neat.
Huh.
You know, my other consideration was, other option that I thought of was actually Johnny Walker. Why would I choose Johnny Walker? Johnny Walker Red.
The British Asian.
Because the stuffy British Asian,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He's got this square bottle with a red label on it. Everything's been cleaned off of it. You can't see that it's Johnny Walker, but it's a bottle of Johnny Walker Red.
And he makes a point to, do you want a drink?
Sure you won't have one?
No. You sure you want to have one?
Yeah.
No.
This is probably a pretty good segue to something that we should talk about with Bruce Lee. Because he's making a big point out of like, my body's a temple, I don't drink alcohol, you know?
Right.
But the man died of a drug overdose.
Right. Well, aspirin or whatever it was.
Something. Yeah. It's very fishy. You know, I've been a Bruce Lee fan most of my life, and I still don't know. I don't know what I really think happened to the guy. I mean, he died of a cerebral edema. That's the coroner's fact. He took some kind of a, not over the counter, like a prescription painkiller, but you're wondering, like, what happened there? You know, is there some kind of fishy thing going on? Why was he taking painkillers? What was that for? What was he even taking painkillers in the first place? Was he having a problem with painkillers? It's weird because like I said, he's like my body is a temple, taking himself seriously. But he also experimented with steroids, did all kinds of weird, like, did you see the movie Dragon?
Mm-hmm, of course.
You know when he's got that thing that's like, he's got these electrodes that are manipulating his pecs to like strengthen them? Yeah. You know, like that kind of stuff, like cockamamie stuff that he was experimenting with. It would not surprise me if he got involved in some kind of drugs. And just being in Hollywood.
Maybe. Yeah.
Stuff like that. Do you think Brad Pitt could kick Bruce Lee's ass?
Brad Pitt? Not Brad Pitt.
Was that plausible to you? No. Watching that fight?
Well,
between like a 50-year-old Brad Pitt and just theoretically Bruce Lee.
Not Brad Pitt, but the guy that Brad Pitt was playing, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, even that character was supposed to be a little long in the tooth, right?
Yeah, 50 years old, but the character was also a freaking gorilla.
Bruce Lee, though?
Yeah, Bruce Lee's 5'6", 5'7", and little. We just talked about this.
Yeah, but he wasn't big.
Who?
I don't think Brad Pitt's character was supposed to be big.
He was. He was. He was huge. Well, I mean, like, not huge. He was gorilla is the best way to put it. I mean, because you could be like 5'10" and be a gorilla, which means just like jaguar. Just big.
I was at a bar one night in my wayward youth, and we were being a little recalcitrant about leaving, and the bouncer said, "Get out of here, meathead," and I was like, "Meathead, me? Oh, thank you." I actually left happy. I was like, I can't believe someone called me.
Makes me feel so good.
I was flattered. I was genuinely flattered.
The guy that Brad Pitt is supposed to be playing.
Right. There is an actual character.
So that dude was like 6'2" and like 220 pounds. He was a martial arts expert.
Supposedly there was a guy that taught Bruce Lee a few things.
Yeah.
No.
So he's a martial arts expert, and he was an Navy SEAL and all this other stuff.
Now that we know it's only 13%, I think we can drink a little deeper.
So I can see that. I could totally see that part. So the part that he's talking about is in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
which is apparently our favorite movie. We talk about it.
Yeah,
constantly.
we talk about it.
It is
all the
actually
time.
pretty good. But.
When Bruce Lee, like the character in the movie of Bruce Lee is being a complete jerk. It's in the Green Hornet. Green Hornet, yeah. When Bruce Lee actually played the sidekick of the Green Hornet.
Kato.
Kato. And
not the one that lived in O.J. Simpson's shed, a different Kato.
Right. Or the one that lived in the Pink Panther.
The guy that would attack him?
Yeah, that would attack him all the time, Kato.
Was that guy named Kato also?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I think so, or something close to that.
I don't think
but in any case.
I shouldn't admit this. I'm always getting in trouble with you.
So
I don't think I've seen Pink Panther.
The original? You've never seen it?
I think you should choose that. I think you should choose that because I've never seen it.
Down the line, obviously not. Anyway, so yeah, Brad Pitt kicks the crap out of him. Brad Pitt's character does. It was based on a guy that was like 6'2" and 220, 230 pounds.
Right.
and also an expert in all this stuff and a Green Beret and blah, blah, blah.
And specifically from the story I heard was adept in a style that Bruce Lee was kind of interested in learning. Like it was more of a kinetic, almost like a Western Aikido type of thing. Like somebody comes at you, use their strength to put them down, ground fighting kind of thing. Like,
I don't know anything about that.
What's Bruce Lee's biggest contribution to martial arts? Like, what do you think of as being his the stylistic element that separates him from other martial artists?
I don't know if it's stylistic though. I think
so. He's famous for something. I wanted to see if you.
Well, Wing Chun. I mean, obviously
that's his style.
Is a style.
But the big thing is close up, delivering an incredibly strong punch with no distance between you and your opponent, which is like
really fast.
I don't know how you're supposed to do that.
And then also he moved like a boxer, like everybody else would stand straight. You know, like
I think boxing is the best style. It says that in either Chinese Connection or Fist of Fury. I don't remember which. But
Ohara is like, or actually most of them that they have their style. Actually, all of them.
Ohara tries to grab him up close, and they show exactly what I'm talking about. Bruce Lee delivers a couple of punches up close that are devastating.
Yeah,
it's
like whack, 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 whack.
Right.
But I mean, like they would have this thing where they would stand very still and like throw a punch.
Right.
So Bruce Lee is like, no, I'm going to bounce around. I'm going to be like a boxer, like Muhammad Ali or something like that. And so he'd like be in the balls of his feet and like bounce around and smack them upside their head. Nobody else would do that. Actually,
I wonder if he would have been a good boxer. Like obviously not heavyweight. That wouldn't have lasted very long.
You know what's interesting about him is he knew, like he was interested and knew of jiu-jitsu. Like one of the first things he did was like choke somebody out. That's what he did. He actually the very first scene when they're in the Shaolin Temple,
right?
He choked the guy out. He didn't beat the crap. You know, he like choked him out in like a, I don't know what kind of hold it would be, but
a full Nelson. I don't know.
I don't know, but it was whatever it was. He choked him out. You know, he didn't sit there and beat the crap out of him.
No, that's right.
Which he did like for the rest of the movie.
And then immediately after winning that fight, right, the other monks like go over and do that. They put together like an arch.
Yeah,
and he does the running flip over.
Yeah.
You don't really see him do a lot of gymnastics or acrobatics.
That was actually a different guy.
Oh, was it? Wasn't really him? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Actually,
that was.
I just saw like a retrospective of that guy's career. That's right. It is a different guy.
That was his body double.
Tons
guy.
and tons of movies. Yeah, that's right. He does a couple of the acrobatic stuff in the movie. When he's fighting Ohara, I think it's the same thing. I think that guy actually does the
flips and stuff like that.
So you know what my favorite move is that I could never do?
Huh?
When John Saxon gets knocked down prone and does that flip. I love that. It seems like such a simple thing. It's not easy to do.
That was
it's
not
like
him.
It's like a bridge in motion.
Yeah.
That's not John Saxon doing
No.
it? You don't think?
God, no.
I think a lot of martial artists know how to do that.
But not him.
Maybe.
I mean, I would say
it's a cool move. It's a cool move.
Okay, go watch it again. He's probably a size 33, 34 waist. And whoever flips up is probably a size 27, 28 waist.
Okay.
I mean, you can see the difference, man. It's like, wow.
That's disappointing.
It's a much smaller
that's disappointing.
version of that.
I think, I really think.
I mean, he was legitimately a martial artist, but that's more gymnastics than martial artists. You know?
I think he was underrated in this movie. I like John Saxon in this movie.
Yeah,
but you chose him as your fighter, so
yeah, I think I would.
I think I would choose if it wasn't the jerk from New Zealand. Any one of the girls from Han's personal Gaddafi guard
that throw their earrings
in the air
stuff,
not just throw a dart through the apple. But put it in your hand and blow.
Yeah,
that
was a weird
one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's a cool attack. Like you don't think that's real?
It could be. I'm sure there's a place where that is real.
Okay.
A truth.
So what's the story with Han? What's Han doing?
I don't know.
What's up with this hand, Catman? What's he doing? What's he doing on an island? I think it's heroin, right?
Some kind of drug. Well,
they talk about. I mean, they talk about the girls are hooked on heroin. So
yeah,
he's growing something. Which I have no idea what an opium plant is, but I think it's opium plants. When he Bruce Lee kind of picks up the plants and looks at them and checks them out.
But it would take a lot of those to make what he's making.
It would take a
to do
lot.
that.
Yeah, they
know?
showed a map of this island.
Yeah,
And
it's
I'm
not
like,
very big.
That's not big enough to grow.
Yeah.
Well, you don't grow opium. What am I talking about? You grow poppies.
You grow poppies. And then,
What
you
the
know,
hell's wrong with you?
You harvest the poppies, you make opium out of poppies, right?
But then you have to process that into heroin,
Right.
which they showed there's some kind of chemical operation
There's
going on.
something going on.
Because when
Saxon walks
what's
through.
Jim Kelly's character's name? I'm drawing a blank for a
Williams.
second. When
Williams.
Williams?
Williams, I think.
Okay, when he dies, there's like an acid pit.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of chemicals going on. So that kind of connects.
Well,
Those dots connect. for
When
me.
Saxon's walking through, there's all those vats of like stuff.
right. So there's some kind of you're growing poppies, processing it into heroin.
maybe.
But I feel like you need acres and acres and acres
Right.
of poppies, like
Yeah.
all of Afghanistan. So like Helmand Province is what you need.
That's sort of the
to grow.
point
Yeah.
of that. Yeah.
I don't think you can do it on a little tiny island.
I don't
but
think so
all
either.
right, fine. Let's just forget that. So, does this remind you of James Bond?
Yes.
It's like
very
a
much.
Dr. No kind of thing going on, right? Like Hans Island. Like
Is Han
Doc-
not Dr. No? I mean,
Yeah. He's
he
even
looks-
like petting a cat in one scene. Remember?
Yes. I mean,
Puts the cat's
The guy. The
one,
guy's
of, one of John Saxon's best lines when he puts the cat on the
Yeah.
guillotine and he picks him and he's like, "Now you've got 8 more," and he delivers that line so well. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, there is a person in this that can act.
Yes.
What about Han? You think that guy can act?
No.
No.
That guy was redubbed by a different actor.
Okay.
Wasn't even the same actor.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that guy, he was a good. I mean, that guy was pretty badass. I mean, the actor.
He's pretty cool. He's a
was
pretty cool villain.
Pretty
yeah.
good, right?
So, do you know Chekhov?
Oh,
Anton
yeah,
Chekhov?
yeah.
He said at one point that if you see a clawed hand in a case at the beginning of a movie, then someone will be stabbed with that claw hand later in the show, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Am I getting that quote right?
Yeah, that's pretty.
Because there's like he goes to the museum, and he's like seeing all these like things, and
There's that. Claw,
that little clawed hand, and that ends up somebody gets killed. Multiple people get killed with it.
Right.
So Han screws up in this fight.
Yeah.
Right. He's fighting Bruce Lee. Goes after him with a spear.
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed how awkward the spear fighting was.
Yes.
You don't use a long spear if you have one hand.
Right.
That's like I feel like that's spear 101.
Yeah.
It's a two-handed weapon.
Yeah.
And then they're fighting in the mirror pit.
Uh-huh.
Right, like there's all these mirrors around. Han has set up this like essentially like he cast mirror image. You know, like he's like using the fact that Bruce Lee can't find him to get like a sneak attack on Bruce Lee.
Right.
Goes after him, just scratches him. I'm like, you got this. It's these. He replaces the first hand that has the crooked
you could
thing.
stab him.
He doesn't do that though.
Yeah, but
I'm like, if you run him through, you're done. You
Yeah,
win.
right.
You're done. Han wins
Yeah.
the fight. He just
That
scratches him, and it happens twice.
Yeah.
He goes after him, sneaks
Face
up,
and-
scratches him
yeah.
in the face, scratches him in the belly. I'm like, you're not utilizing your assets the way you should
right.
be. I feel like
Yeah.
this is not a great plan in this
All
fight.
it really did was lead him to that famous licks his
blood. Yeah, and
it's
then,
like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty. I'm wondering how scripted that was.
It wasn't in the script.
Yeah,
The mirror scene is not in the script.
none of it was.
They came up with it on the set and just did it that way, which is weird because there's a plant earlier in the film where his master tells him about the enemy using illusions against you, and then it comes around. So they must have added that later, but in the original script there wasn't the mirror fighting scene.
Right.
That got added later. But yeah, he gets kicked. He gets kicked in that fight. Right. There's like a
Yeah.
part where he's kind of winning the fight. Bruce Lee's winning the fight for a little bit, and you see a close up of Han from the back, and Bruce Lee kicks it roundhouse to the face. Clearly, it's a bag of sand that gets kicked in the head and goes down.
Yeah.
It's not even close to looking like a human being.
It
He
did that a
falls
lot.
so fast
Yeah.
that you're like, that's not. If a person's upper musculature moved that fast, they'd die.
Yeah.
Like it would break your neck. Yeah. No. It's a really good soundtrack.
You thought so?
I think so.
You think so?
I mean, let's say it's distinctive. You're not going to mistake what movie you're watching. When
You
hear it.
might.
I mean, dun, 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 like this, it's just.
Yeah, from any other movie.
But it's also got this like 70s funk to it. It's like got this kind of
Well,
stereotypical martial arts, but then there's also this wicka chicka wicka chicka wicka chicka wicka. I hate to almost say it, but like
Say
kind of
it.
sounds like a porn movie,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like
I
the
was gonna say,
stereotypical
yeah.
porn movie music. But yeah, so it's like James Bond and
well, they kind of called it like the Dr. No of.
yeah, there's
like
definitely
martial
there's a
arts
there's a
movies, yeah.
Dr. No, there's a Dr. No vibe. There definitely is.
Yeah.
He's in there. He goes at that last bit where he goes like Metal Gear Solid, and he just goes and he's doing a stealth mission
Yeah.
to go in and fight everybody at Han's palace. and he sneaks in and he finds that snake.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Right?
And then he keeps them. Yeah.
I
Puts them in a
don't
bag.
understand why the snake doesn't bite. Maybe he's just smarter about snakes than the other guys, but like he just kind of, the snake comes after him, he just kicks it away. Like he kind of picks it up and throws it in after these guys. So there was, it reminded me of, there was this thing that happened at the DC Zoo when I was a kid. 2 boys hopped the fence, went into the reptile house in the middle of the night, and stole a gaboon viper.
Oh, jeez.
Right, which is this fearsomely, one of the most poisonous snakes. I think it's the most poisonous snake in Africa, short of maybe the black mamba. Anyway, very dangerous snake. And these boys stole it, put it in a bag, threw it over their shoulder, got on the bus, headed back home, and it just bit the kid through the bag, and he ended up in the emergency room and stuff. And, I was thinking, did they watch Enter the Dragon?
Yeah, it's like,
is that what happened?
What
Did you think
thinking?
you could just have a poisonous snake in a
What were you
freaking
thinking?
bag?
Yeah. Well.
Oh,
yeah.
I remember that snake too. That same snake came back to the zoo. I used to go see it all the time when I was a kid. They lived for like 30 or 40 years. I mean, it was
good for that. Good for that snake. That's all I can say.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty much rooting for the snake in that scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not
kids screwing with a stupid snake.
We got to finish this guy because I can't. I'm riding my bike home. I've already been wounded once. So.
Well, you're taking that
give
home
me a little
too.
more soju. I cannot take that home.
You can't take that home.
No, in my little camel pack on a bike. Yeah, so there's the snake scene, and then he gets in there and screws up, and the stealth mission of the video game turns into. Did you ever play GoldenEye?
Yes.
So you know how there's a couple of boards where if you screw up, there are hordes of AK-47 wielding guys that come after you. It was like that scene. It was like he screws up, and there's just guy after guy after guy coming after him, trying to kick his ass. I'm sorry, trying to beat him up. And well, there's no guns. There can't be guns.
Right.
Right? Han doesn't believe in guns.
Han doesn't like guns.
Essentially, it's a fist fight, mass fist fight. Fortunately, every time he punches somebody, they die.
Right.
They don't get back up again. Like in real life, when somebody gets punched, they just get back up and probably kill you. Yeah. Have you ever tried to knock somebody out in real life?
In real life?
You ever seen anybody get knocked out?
No.
Okay.
Either one. No.
So I had a situation one time.
It's not easy.
No.
I mean, it's not.
I had a situation one time with a very intoxicated friend when I was in college who was intoxicated to the point where he was antagonizing police. And like, I ended up sitting on this stoop with him in a headlock, and I was sitting there, he was trying to bite me, then threw up on me. I mean, it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And I was looking at him, I was like, could I knock him out? Because I could let go for a second and just try to take this guy out. And I was like, that only happens in movies. And I ended up sitting there with this guy for like 2 hours in a headlock waiting for him to kind of sober up because I didn't think it's realistic. Yeah. In the movies, you can knock somebody out, but in real life, it's not a thing. You just hit somebody and they go to sleep. And
well, I mean,
if they do, they've been badly injured, right? That's not like a minor.
You can. I mean, you can.
It's possible.
You can smack somebody hard enough, hit them in the right spot. They will go to sleep. It's not pleasant for either one, though. I mean, that's the problem. Is it not something that anybody wants to do?
No.
No,
and also you're hurt. Something bad has happened to your brain.
Yeah, obviously it's
something you want to do casually.
Injury, yeah.
So there's another guy that comes after him in the bit where so there's a couple of guys try to fist fight him, and then a couple of guys get the idea. They're like, this guy is clearly a higher level than we are, so we need to get some weapons. And they come after him with various weapons. He gets some tonfa, the nightsticks. He's got a pair of those, and he's like, all right, this is kind of cool. And then one guy has nunchucks.
Yes.
And he looks at Bruce Lee, and he just gives up and goes, blah, and runs at him with the nunchucks and swings them over his head like he's never seen a pair of nunchucks in his entire life. And Bruce Lee takes that guy out, gets the nunchucks, and a couple more guys come in, and he goes into this demonstration of like basic nunchuck form.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part of the movie.
Where he's just like doing the nunchucks.
He's using them. They're moving so fast. It sounds like a bird tweeting. It was like, instead of, I mean, it's just that. I love that. That's where I think that's where my Bruce Lee moment of the entire film. Where I'm like, this guy's about to just beat 1,000 people.
The problem is though, he uses the nunchucks. I think he wastes like 4 people with them. Yeah, and then he moves on.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. Can I give away my biggest surprise then?
Sure.
So in that scene, takes a dude out, gets him in a headlock, holds him for a second, snaps his neck, throws him to the ground.
Okay.
You know what my biggest surprise is? That's Jackie Chan.
Oh, that's right.
The guy he gets in a headlock and breaks his neck and throws him to the ground without ever really seeing his face. I had to watch it in slow motion.
I
was like,
saw that.
that is Jackie Chan.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
That's the guy.
Jackie Chan is actually like throughout
He's in the movie in other places, yeah, but he actually
all over
gets
the
his
place,
face
yeah.
on screen as he's spinning around, being defeated by Bruce Lee in that part. That was my biggest surprise. I actually didn't know that.
That's crazy.
I wasn't aware because I know those scenes pretty well. Like we used to kind of half-assedly choreograph them in the basement.
Do it yourselves.
Do it ourselves. That was it.
That's a good one.
Did you have a biggest surprise?
Biggest surprise. Well, I mean, the obvious one for me has always been the whole Jim Kelly cop thing at the very beginning.
Oh, I know, right? He gets this BLM moment at the beginning.
Yeah.
Isn't that great? How long before that was really... Now, I guess if you're black, that's always been on your consciousness, but for white dudes, I feel like we didn't know about that until Rodney King, right? Like,
I guess. I mean, okay, so you're a black guy. You just left the dojo, dojo, because you've been invited to this international, karate competition. You got a suitcase in your hand. Mm-hmm. And apparently a Pan Am,
Pan Am. That's totally gone. Right?
Pan Am backpack or something like that you're carrying as well, so that everybody knows that you're flying somewhere. But he's
not going to
You
Hawaii.
literally just walk out of the dojo onto the street, and then two white police officers from L.A.
Where is he? Is he in L.A.?
Yeah, he's L.A. And they stop you and they're like,
protect and serve my foot.
No, and then just start going at him. So here's the thing, though. The whole scene is really weird because if you're a white guy...
Which I am, in case anybody hasn't...
Are you?
In case anybody hasn't picked up on that.
It's dark in here. So if you're just typical white guy watching this movie, you'd be like, what? And if you're a black guy, would you say, yeah, that's exactly how it is? I walk out of my dojo and get...
Well, it's 1974.
Get harassed by the cops.
It's 1974. I think the level of police harassment was more intense, right? Like, you're not talking about like a situation where someone's doing something bad and the police react with too much violence. You
don't think they played it up just a little bit?
What, in the film?
Yeah.
Well... Yeah, I think of course they do, right?
I mean, that's kind of the point, right? It's like, so I guess what I'm
But I also think in those days, I think a black man in a suit, looking good, looking like he's going somewhere.
Okay.
Cops might decide to thump him on the head. I think it was worse than it is today. Way worse than it is today.
You're probably right.
And it definitely was like that back in the 50s and 40s, like before that.
But here's the thing. Here's my question though. Are they playing up that, or are they playing up like a trope? Are they playing up a trope?
Well, they are, because he has to have a reason to go. He has to have a reason why he can't go home. Because John Saxon's got Roper's got the gambling debts.
Right.
The mob's after him, and he beats up a bunch of mob dudes.
Sure.
And Bruce Lee's got his motivation. What's Bruce Lee's motivation for the tournament? Other than the sister.
I thought it was his sister.
He has to avenge the honor of his Shaolin Temple.
Oh, the Shaolin Temple, yeah.
So I was in college at one point, and I was taking...
At a Shaolin Temple?
I was taking Shaolin Kung Fu, actually.
Wow.
And a buddy of mine at school, this guy Frank Archer, that we used to call Black Frank, because we had two friends named Frank, White Frank, Black Frank. Anyway, so Black Frank comes up to me one day. Sounds like a pirate name, I know. Yeah. So we were talking, we were playing basketball, and he was like talking to me, and he asked me where I go to school and stuff. I told him I was at this Hapkido, not Hapkido, what the hell am I talking about? Hung Fat was the name of our style, Shaolin, and he was like, your master he's nothing. Like anybody could kick that guy's butt. And he just kept going on about it. And I was like, am I actually in a position where I need to defend the honor of my Shaolin school? Like, is that what I'm supposed to do now?
Wow, it's like a movie.
Yeah, I was like, he just kept going on. I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if he was trolling me or what, but it was a very weird situation.
So what did you do? Just remain silent?
I was just kind of like...
okay, whatever.
Yeah, he was
probably right.
He was a little silly. I mean, he was kind of a silly guy, but it was funny because I found myself in the position of needing to defend my temple. But anyway, so you were saying that... so what I thought that his response, which is the guys are like, he's not going away, and then he just kicks the cops' asses
and then takes their car. That's the best part.
What a gangster move. I love that. Right? That's so cool.
Me too.
But I was also like, I feel like that might have been a little hasty.
Maybe so.
Like, maybe, I don't know. They hadn't actually tried to hit him or anything. I don't know.
Well,
it seemed like a bad situation.
You
So
know,
I could sympathize.
You know what they always say, like for racist things? What's a different time? You know, like for Nathan Bedford Forrest. He tried to,
Oh boy.
No,
Where are we going?
Well, he tried to run out all the black people out of Tennessee
By forming the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, people will say, well, it was a different time then. You know, just
I don't say that.
Well,
I don't say that.
I heard you say it the other day.
No, I don't say that about that. That's.
But what I'm saying though, this is actually in defense.
Haven't we said before on this podcast that we're going to go ahead and cancel the Ku Klux Klan? Didn't we say that before?
No.
I think we had this
I thought
conversation.
you said you were going to celebrate them.
I'm officially canceling the KKK. They're not okay with me.
No,
So
changing positions.
I don't even know if they
in any
exist
case,
anymore. Is that a thing?
Did something like that was kind of like that, like I'm going to kick the crap out of these lily white police officers and then take their police car. I mean that's
Baller move.
Yeah, it is.
Baller move, and then drive up to the airport and fly to Hawaii.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah.
Where do you probably don't even have to pay to park, right? You go to the airport, you probably just drive up to the terminal.
Yeah.
Because you're already in a stolen police car, so you could just drive up.
Sure.
Maybe you could drive onto the runway.
Although you're not.
You could probably drive right onto the tarmac. If you ran your lights, I bet they'd let you on the tarmac, and you could just walk right up onto the plane.
Maybe. They might get suspicious after seeing your 5-inch
fro.
Yeah.
I feel like
that
Jim Kelly's fro. Jim Kelly's fro needs like a high billing in this movie.
Yeah.
That is a terrific fro. Yeah.
But he was awesome.
He's good.
I love him, and I love that part. I love that. They're just like all of a sudden we're going to be racist for racist sake. We're just there's
I don't
no
know.
reason.
I feel like it was the '70s version of being woke. It's actually pretty woke for something like that. Like when he goes to Hong Kong and they're in the harbor and he's like, they don't live so big over there. Ghettos are the same all over the world.
They all stink.
Yeah. You know?
But
it's got a little social commentary there.
no,
like, that's
no.
not,
Is he?
People don't do
is
that
he,
in action movies.
Is that
right?
a caricature, though, of cops? I mean, come on.
Oh, a caricature of cops.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
is that what we're worried about?
Not worried
caricature
about,
of cops.
I mean, like that whole scene. Is it? That didn't happen every day. Obviously, if it happened every day,
of course not. Of course not.
In 1970, whatever.
But it did happen.
Well, it did happen.
It did happen. I don't know. Yeah, sure. They're playing it up. They're playing up.
In L.A. especially. L.A. was not. I mean, it's not like backwater Virginia or something like that.
Excuse me? I'm from Virginia.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I mean.
L.A. is always famously more conservative than Northern California, right? There's Southern California, there's Northern California. Not so much today.
You might be thinking of like.
No, but back in the day,
San Diego,
when we
Orange
were
County.
when we were kids, yeah, Orange County, like L.A., like it's where like Ronald Reagan's from. That was a lot more conservative back in the day. Not so much now, obviously. L.A. is just like New York or whatever, but.
Yeah, but I think it was still much more liberal.
Well, anyway, that police force that beat up Rodney King, there were some bad apples there, and that's always the thing is that the cops are never actually from the jurisdiction; they're from wherever they need to be from to be cops. Like,
no, that's sure. Yeah, that's true.
Like D.C., how many of the cops are actually from D.C.? Even when my granddad was a D.C. cop, they had a rule that people had to live in the district, so he had to like tell people that other cops were from his house. They had to report to his address. Because nobody that wanted to be a cop lived in the District of Columbia. They all lived out in Prince George's County. Then we got into a more general discussion of police brutality.
Right.
Which I don't approve of. I think police should be nice to people.
Well, thanks for getting that straight.
Within reason.
I like that.
Within reason. If somebody's... Like that. So the thing I used to see when I was a kid...
I like that when people say like...
Piece of personal experience.
Just so you'll know.
So I told you about Black Frank.
I am not at all for child marriage.
That's right. What I've seen with my own eyes, and this is a story about Black Frank also. We were driving down Braddock Road in Fairfax, coming from George Mason University. And now, when I was a young man, I used to get pulled over on a regular basis because you're just young. Cops screw with you. Just life. So I get pulled over. Black Frank's in the car. I get pulled over. It's not I get pulled over and the cop talks to me. It's 4 police cars pull up. The guy calls for backup, and we get a lineup of cars behind us, which is never. And I've been pulled over at this stage of my life dozens of times. All the time they're pulling us over because don't have a lot of money and I'm a young dude. Like, fine, they just kind of roll you, Mm-hmm. But with a black guy in my car, it turns into like an incident. 3 or 4 cars in backup lined up behind the car that pulled me over, and I haven't done anything. They're just checking like my registration or something. You know, it didn't turn into an incident, you know, but I'm just saying like they called for backup
Because there was a black dude.
because there was a black guy in the car, and God knows what could happen, right? Like, very strange. Like, and I saw that with my own eyes. I was like, all right, this is not what happens to me when I get pulled over. I get picked on because I'm a young guy, and fair enough, young guys are trouble. Across the board, young men are trouble. Especially everybody in jail is a young man. We all know this, right? God forbid there's a black person around, then all of a sudden it's a completely different ballgame. Now, we didn't get hit over the head with nightsticks or anything, probably because I was like, yes, sir, officer, yes, sir, you know, like, but something that I can attest to.
Right.
You know, but I wasn't going to Hawaii, so the guy didn't need to beat me up and stop me or anything. So
Exactly. With your TWA bag.
Who sends him on the mission? I mean, I know it's this guy Braithwaite, right? Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Who is that? Is that the British authorities?
British intelligence. Yeah.
Like MI. Well, which one's real? MI5, MI6. James Bond works for the one that's fake, and then the real one is MI. I don't know. Whatever. MI
but
something.
It makes sense though, because Hong Kong is still British at that point. So.
Correct. And was until 1999 or something.
Yeah.
98. That's
now
a weird little holdover.
Now they're oppressed communists.
It's actually a bad situation. It actually bums me out. They were supposed to have their own rules.
It's a terrible.
They're supposed to have their own rules until 2047.
Yeah. Well, that's not going to happen.
It's just not going to happen, and nobody's going to do anything about it at all. So.
Well, no.
I mean, come at me, China. I don't approve of the way you're treating Hong Kong. I'll go on record as saying that. I don't like it.
Well, China. That's what China's attitude is. Like, come at us. What are you going to do about it?
What are we going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it?
When I was a kid, we had this thing, the Tibetan Freedom Festival. And it was like this great big thing. It was terrific bands. When I got to see Bjork, the Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys, yeah.
Wyclef Jean was there. Like, it was just, everybody was there. Yeah. And even as like a young guy, I was like, okay.
I mean, Roger Gere,
Richard Gere?
Richard Gere, yeah. Right. Like, he hasn't worked in Hollywood in years because he is like an adamant about Tibetan freedom. Right. Right.
That's what I was saying. But even as a young guy, I was thinking, like, what do we think we're going to do about this? Tibet. We can't get troops there. We're not going to fight the Chinese over Tibet. What do you want to do about it?
Well,
we have no leverage in this situation. We go and we make movies in Xinjiang. You know, like the Mulan movie was filmed there. Thank you to the government of Xinjiang, it says at the end of the film. Right. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, these idiots like Disney and all the rest of them need to stop.
What are they going to do? China actually shuts companies down if they mess up. Well, what's the
fine
HMV?
Let them shut them down. I mean, when companies make China one of their primary demographics, customer bases, means they rely on them, right?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So they need to not do that.
I had a high school teacher, Mr. G, awesome guy, and he was from Hong Kong originally. And I remember he told us all, he was like, when Hong Kong reverts back to China, Hong Kong will change China and not the other way around. He wasn't like 100% wrong, right? Like, definitely China is not communist anymore. Right. But it's just sad to see Hong Kong get overwhelmed the way it has been, because it could have been something special. But so who are the guys in the cages?
They were drunks and people.
What is going on there?
Drunks and people who just didn't care or whatever.
And Mr. Han, it's an island filled with soldiers dressed in white.
Yes. Puts
a bunch of guys in cages who hate him, dressed in black.
Right.
So just in case someone opens up those cages, that there's an army to fight his army. And why? I don't really see the upside of this. It's like in video games where the bad guys always leave explosive barrels around their soldiers that you can shoot and it kills. It's like, it really doesn't seem like there's not a lot of upside to that plan. Yeah. So I don't really understand what's going on there. The drunken men who no longer care where they wake up. Why put them in cages? What is that part completely lost me.
Did it have something to do with like the drug testing, like with the women?
I mean, they had those women in the cages, right? That were being given drugs for some inscrutable reason. Why are you giving away free drugs? Testing drugs? These drugs work? You like the drugs? Yeah, I like the drugs. They're great.
Making sure they're hooked on them or something like that.
But then what? We had too many drugs. We got to like use them on somebody. I mean, I don't really understand the marketing scheme there. And then at the end, he's got this plan where he's going to have Bolo fight John Saxon's going to fight Bruce Lee. The plan is to have Roper kill Bruce Lee.
Right.
John Saxon says no, so he has Bolo fight him. But then Bruce Lee defeats Bolo.
No. Saxon defeats Bolo.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. And then Han is just like,
Yeah.
just killed him. Just murder everybody. Let's just free for all battle.
But
His plan goes to dish like so fast
right.
that you have to ask yourself, what was it in the first place? What
Right.
was the strategy
Yeah.
that led to that decision?
Right.
Like you were gonna have, I don't know.
Well, it was
what's the win scenario there?
It was kind of like, it actually reminded me a lot of the end of Blazing Saddles.
okay.
Okay.
It's a bit of a free for all.
Yeah, it's a big free for all, and there's like, the singing and dancing, the chorus line going on, and then
Right.
suddenly it crashes into that, and like,
So what song was going through your head when you were watching everybody? I was just looking at it. I was like, I had this thought. I was like, what's happening here? And I was like, well, everybody is kung fu fighting. I was literally.
Oh no!
I had that sentence go through my head without the song attached to it, and then I was like, "Oh, that's literally just what. That's the climax of this film."
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Everybody's
It's
terrible.
pretty dark ending, also, because the girl dies.
Yeah.
Remember the girl's dead? Roper's girlfriend. Remember, like he looks over and she's just like there, dead.
Right.
That's pretty dark.
Well, but she was kind of an accomplice.
she's
kinda,
definitely an accomplice.
She
yeah.
really had to die.
But how did she die? What happened to her?
Oh, she just
Somebody punched her, and you die when you get punched.
right.
Somebody
Well,
probably
or
kicked her in the crotch.
Something
probably.
fell in on her, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody was kung fu fighting, and then something fell onto her, and that was the end of her.
Kind of how it works.
I wanted to see them end up together. I thought Roper and like crazy manipulated heroin girl were gonna run off together somewhere, right?
well,
Live in Vietnam or something, like somewhere.
she did give a good like foot massage,
Like with her feet.
like with
Not
her
a
feet.
massage applied to the feet,
Yeah, yeah.
but with her feet.
Like
Yeah. So what do you say? What's your verdict?
Well, I would definitely toast this, man.
You would?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's up to you because I foisted it upon you.
Yeah,
so.
no.
You know
this
I love
is-
this thing.
All right, so this is an Academy Award, but
It's
this
not?
is
Wait a minute. Best
it's
martial
not.
arts film? What was the best martial arts film of 74 if this wasn't it? Isn't that a category?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, if it was. Toasting this classic?
Yeah.
All right.
Cheers.
Let's do it. That was a decent, that was actually, since we removed the velour
wasn't
from
too
the
bad,
glasses,
right?
it actually sounds a
Wasn't
little
too
better.
bad.
Well, we toasted the classic. I think we're done.
Yeah.
I think Toasting the Classics is out.
All right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
That's it for episode 8 of Toasting the Classics. For those playing along at home, we're going cheap next time. Grab a 6-pack of Miller High Life for our discussion of George Carlin's stand-up, specifically his 1972 album FM and AM, and 2008's It's Bad For You. If you'd like to get in touch, send us an email at toastingtheclassics@gmail.com. Send us show ideas, your comments, complaints about how we drank a Korean beverage for a Chinese movie, whatever. Check out my blog at theattractivenuisance.com and follow us on Twitter at @ractivenuisance. Our music was written by Michelle McArthur. See you next time on Toasting the Classics.